Thousands of Vietnamese refugees have made their home in the Golden Triangle in the past year, and they've been absorbed into the community. This year brings a flotilla of Cubans and more of the same problems of a year ago. Shortages of housing and money plague the chances of the refugees to settle here. Dr. Win Van Chow says money may be the biggest problem in helping the Cubans.
Right now, funding from the federal agencies is not available for the Cubans because they are in a status they call a 60 days deferred inspection status. They are not yet even considered as refugees. So only after the 60 days they would be eligible for help from the state, from the federal agencies and programs. But I hope that in the very near future there will be a change in that position and that federal funding will be available for the Cubans.
Dr. Chow says without federal funds, it will be impossible to expect the Cubans to make it on their own for a while. He says if members of a family were to get sick, it would be wrong to expect their sponsors to pay the bills. That is why several people concerned with the situation met at the White House today to try to get funding for the refugee programs, and perhaps locate as many as 200 Cubans in the Golden Triangle.
Dr. Chow says it'll be 1 to 2 weeks before a permanent solution can be worked out for settling refugees in the area. He says before that time, the diocese plans to take in 1 to 2 families and see how the solution will work here. David Lowell, Channel 6 News.
Jaime, Maria, and Sabino Jorge fled from Cuba and are living here in Beaumont with relatives Dr. and Mrs. M.J. Ramirez. An escape boat piloted by Mrs. Ramirez's brother brought them to this country. They speak no English, but they are happy.
Sí, la mayoría de las personas y todos los que vienen no son malos. Entre ellos hay muchos que...
Los mejores trabajadores,
quizás los mejores trabajadores, los mejores personas son los que quieren venir para los Estados Unidos.
He said that not all the people that are coming are bad. There's a lot of nice people that are coming, but still there is quite a few, the people that were in jail, the people who have a record, those people, he asked them to come. I mean, the government wants them to come. They have to beg to get out of the country, you know. It takes
The main
years.
problem the family faces here is communications. Jaime Jorge is a machinist. Employers so far have liked his qualifications, but he still can't speak English. He wants no handout, he's optimistic, and he's still better off than he was.
Le trata de dar a ustedes de los americanos.
Bueno, un sistema malo, corrompido, que no existe derecho, un sistema que no da derechos ni oportunidades de vida apenas a las personas.
He said that he's a bad system and that no people here have any chances to, you know, to work or just a complete different picture. Just something that you just can't understand.
Some Americans feel foreign problems should remain foreign problems. These Cubans say they express the feelings of many more when they say they still love Cuba. It's just hard to fight communism alone.
Yeah, if they could get rid of the communist government, they would come back. We all would like to go back to Cuba.
While the Cuban family does have a problem with communications, they make it quite clear que son buena gente. The American people sure have been nice. Wayne Sparrow, Channel 6 News.
Sylvia Hernandez was one of only 2 survivors of a plane crash in Mexico City less than 2 months ago. She suffered severe burns on a large part of her body and lay in a Mexican hospital for 6 days before Mexican President Jose Lopez Portillo flew her to Beaumont's Baptist Hospital for treatment by Dr. Dwayne Larson. Larson is the hospital's plastic surgeon who has a special interest in treating burn patients. And Senora Hernandez is a very special patient since she is the general director for the National Council for Youth in Mexico. Her treatment for her burns with physical therapist Otis Mormon brought her from a near death to a much happier life.
You seem to have a very good attitude. You seem to be very, very happy now.
In my physical appearance,
Yes.
I'm a little worse, but in my interior, I am a little less worse than before. I mean, now I understand too many things I didn't understood before. Now I know many things about people who have a pain, who hurt. I understand much about people who suffer, and I think that makes people a little better.
Mrs. Hernandez will be leaving the hospital in a few days. She'll keep up on her treatment with some special garments that will help heal her burns and keep the scarring to a minimum. It's a new process that Dr. Larson is pioneering, and Mrs. Hernandez will take it back to Mexico with her, along with a new feeling for life, with help from the people of Beaumont, Texas. David Lowell, Channel 6 News.
One project of particular interest is the renovation of an old home located on the Port Arthur Lamar campus, which will serve as a laboratory to help complete that university's new nursing program. Lamar University President Bob Kimball says the new facility will also help to increase the number of qualified nurses coming out of Lamar.
There is a observable need for training licensed vocational nurses for the Port Arthur area. There is all over the country. I was reading a Kipling report just the other day that said the anticipated shortage of nurses will be about 10% for some years to come. We're trying to maximize the production of nurses out of Lamar's program.
President Kimball thinks the expansion plans for Lamar will move it along with the times.
We need to stay up to date in our profession, and the education profession of higher education is like any other industry. It has its changing state of the art, and particularly in such specialized areas as lab needs, engineering lab needs, communication laboratories.
Other expansion projects include the construction of additional gym facilities on the Beaumont Lamar campus and the renovation of its theater and music building. Terry Elliott, Channel 6 News.
In a quiet camera shop in Port Neches, a miraculous achievement is stirring up the Kodachrome waters of the photography world. The shop bubbles with excitement. 2 Cajun coaches are busy cheering their new student onto that great moment. Underwater sits Tata Olivia III, a Cajun-trained, or should we say A.J. Judice, Jim Broad-trained cameraman. Each is always trying to outdo the other in crazy Cajun crawfish feats, this time to take photographs underwater. The Frenchmen are coaxing Tata Olivia III to snap to it.
Come on, voila. Now, are you ready? Now. Get ready, Controlling. Now. And may we salute the Japanese and the Kunasses. Yay!
Well, move over James Garner and Kodak. Tata Olivia III is doing the one-step. From Port Neches, Barbara Bedrick, Channel 6 News.
And in conversation with the attorney for the Department of Justice, it's quite clear that he's talking about busing district-wide from kindergarten through the 12th grade in order to accomplish the result he seeks, which is a complete racial mix in every building. Incidentally, the Supreme Court has not required that in school districts. All the Supreme Court says is that you must remove segregating barriers.
When Southwest Airlines announced that they were pulling out of the Jefferson County Airport, there was a small wave of panic for air passengers. They wondered how they were going to get to Dallas. Well, there are other airlines here, and they're going to take up the slack. Beginning June 15th, Metro Airlines will offer increased service to Houston Intercontinental Airport from the Jefferson County Airport. The announcement was made after Southwest decided they were losing money operating from here. But according to Metro officials, the reasons that forced Southwest to leave will not affect them.
Well, I think it's because of the equipment. Their overhead was much more than ours.
The increased service is significant. In the past, Metro flew Twin Otter aircraft that holds only 18 passengers. Now, most of the flights will feature the Shorts wide-body aircraft, which holds 30 people.
And I think that's why we're adding the additional carriers, the larger carriers. It's because of it. The Shorts are much larger, much more comfortable. We even have flight attendants now, getting real uptown. And I just think the people would enjoy it much better than they did the Otters. The Otters are quite a bit smaller.
In addition to the Houston flights, no one has ruled out the possibility of reinstating a daily flight to Dallas. That decision will probably come this summer. Bruce Cates, Channel 6 News.
The race for sheriff in Hardin County started out with 5 candidates. After the May 3rd primary, only 2 were left, incumbent Billy Payne and challenger Mike Holzapfel. Sheriff Payne, who has been in office for 8 years, based his campaign on experience.
Well, primarily or basically the same as we have had. In our budget proposal for this coming year, I've asked for additional deputies and everything. We're going to try to increase our patrols and do as good a job as we can.
Holzapfel says there has to be a change in Hardin County, and he wants to return the office of sheriff back to the people with an open-door policy.
They can expect some professional law enforcement for a change, and they can expect to get their calls answered when they come in. And for the first time in a long time, they're going to have a sheriff that cares about the people of Hardin County instead of outsiders that don't even vote in this county.
We got a little over 40% of the total vote cast originally, and I think we're going to have a real good voter turnout tomorrow, and I feel real confident about the election.
Well, I feel real good about it. The majority of the people, over 60%, has already voted against the sheriff, and I don't look for them to change their vote.
Absentee voting has reportedly been heavy. So the race for sheriff here in Hardin County is shaping up to be an interesting one. Incumbent Sheriff Billy Payne says if he is reelected, the county can expect the same type of law enforcement, but he would like to have some additional men. While on the other hand, challenger Mike Holzapfel says if he is elected, expect to see a lot of changes. Jim Oliver in Hardin County, Channel 6 News.
Okay. Are you going to vote tomorrow?
Vote for what?
Like statistics nationwide, previous voter turnout in Orange County has been low. Only 1/3 of those eligible voted in May. Runoffs for a county commissioner's seat and 2 constable positions will be decided tomorrow. 864 people voted absentee in May. 792 have voted absentee this time, and some mail-in ballots are still out. The statewide races are expected to draw little attention, and despite absentee figures, officials are looking for only half as many voters as in May.
We seem to think that it's going to be a lot lower than the last election, that it's just not going to be a real heavy turnout this time.
The reason why people aren't going to go out and vote, you think?
Not necessarily. It just looks like a lot of them that are going to vote that are interested have already voted.
Are you going to vote tomorrow?
No.
Why not?
I haven't registered.
No.
Why not?
No, because I don't get to deal in politics.
Are you going to vote tomorrow?
Yes, definitely.
No, we're going to be out of town.
Have you voted absent? Why didn't you vote absentee?
I didn't really think much about it.
Not even registered.
Why not?
because usually I don't agree with what they say, and it seems like all they do is argue about their personal things, and they don't worry about what they're planning on going to do when they get in office. And until they get someone that I feel like is behind the people, maybe I'll vote.
Officials in the county clerk's office say there has not been a lot of controversy concerning the local elections, and they're only looking for about 5,000 voters to go to the polls tomorrow. From Orange, Wayne Sparrow, Channel 6 News.
The water that you see is brown here at the Beaumont water treatment plant, but it's not the reason that the water in your tap may look brown. That's because Beaumonters are using a lot more water. It's a seasonal thing. Last month, Beaumont residents used 18 million gallons of water a day. That may sound like a lot, but compare it to the present use of 24 million gallons a day. That increased amount of water usage also accelerates the speed that it moves through the pipes and allows the water to scrape sediment off the walls.
The movement of the sediments, and unfortunately, this appears in the plumbing fixtures of people's homes, and it is unsightly. It's not unsafe. From a bacteriological standpoint, it's as safe as the water that they got last month or last week when they did not have these sediments.
The water is dirty, there's no doubt about that, and drinking it may be a bit hard for you to do. But the Beaumont Water Department says the brown water is only a temporary thing, and that by this weekend the problem should be cleared up. Bruce Cates, Channel 6 News.
The proposed pilot projects will be funded by the Texas Department of Human Resources and operated by those private and public providers who submit the most attractive bids.
We've asked provider groups and organizations to please submit us proposals. I understand the proposal is supposed to be in Austin no later than June the 30th. After that point in time, they will be studied, and then the contracts themselves for the various projects will be let by July the 15th.
So we'll know on or shortly after July 15th whether or not one of the pilot projects will be in Southeast Texas.
We should. We don't know, of course, how long it will take for some of them to actually get off the ground, but by the 15th we ought to know who the contractors will be.
The pilot projects are designed to supplement and not replace existing programs, and if the two-year test projects are successful, the state legislature will be asked to fund them as a regular part of the statewide alternate care system. The projects would assist aged, blind, and disabled persons who neither need nor are qualified for nursing home care.
It'll also create a situation where people in the community who prefer to remain in the community can do so for a longer period of time. There were some hearings held statewide a year or so ago, a committee chaired by State Senator Chet Brooks, where testimony was taken from a number of people who said, in no uncertain terms, that given the opportunity and if the services were available, they would prefer to stay in the community rather than go into nursing homes.
Bids or proposals for the pilot projects must be received in Austin by June 30th. For further information, interested parties should contact the Department of Human Resources in Beaumont. Albert Zipp, Channel 6 News.
Nice to meet you. See you later.
The polls opened at 7 this morning in all three counties. Voter turnout in Hardin County was moderate through this afternoon. The races here are incumbent Billy Payne against challenger Mike Holzapfel for sheriff. For Precinct 2 Constable, it's between Dale Williford and Bo Tarver. And the Precinct 5 Constable race is between incumbent E. Red Ricks and challenger Jerry Day. Hardin County voters will also select 3 commissioners. In Chambers County, there is also a sheriff's race. It's between incumbent Doyle Pounds and challenger C.E. Chuck Morris. Chambers County residents will also choose between incumbent Lee Mendenhall and challenger Kenneth Bettis for Precinct 1 Commissioner. In Orange County, 2 constable races and a county commissioner will be selected. Thomas R. Tick Granger and Clyde Chasen are vying for the commissioner seat in Precinct 3. For Constable in Precinct 1, voters will choose between Jack Thomas and Jack H. Jones. And finally, for Constable in Precinct 4, the choices are Clyde R. Jordan and H.J. Harrington, Jr. All polling places close at 7 this evening, and we'll have results tonight at 10 on The Update. Jim Oliver, Channel 6 News.
It began in 1970 when Judge Fisher entered a court order laying out a school attendance plan by streets. The Justice Department agreed because the racial background was acceptable at the time. However, after that order was issued, residents began moving from certain areas, leaving a nearly all-black neighborhood in parts of the city. That led to a 1976 decision by the Justice Department that Fisher should devise an alternate desegregation plan because of several one-race schools.
Schools which were black before are still black, and those that were white before, many of them are still white or predominantly white.
But Fisher said he created a unitary system and that if everyone had stayed where they were, his plan would have worked. The Fifth Circuit Court disagreed and asked Fisher to do something about it. He did. A second round of hearings was held last December. Afterwards, the judge retired to consider an opinion. Less than a week after the hearings closed, however, the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare listed South Park schools as one of the top offenders of segregation in the country. The list was later removed, but not before the damage of insinuation was leveled.
I think the timing was bad, but I don't think one has anything to do with the other, or at least I would certainly hope not, since no judgment has been made or verdict rendered at this time.
Now, Fisher has decided that it is not in his power to require an alternate desegregation plan.
It's quite clear that he's talking about busing district-wide from kindergarten through the 12th grade in order to accomplish the result he seeks, which is a complete racial mix in every building. Incidentally, the Supreme Court has not required that in school districts. All the Supreme Court says is that you must remove segregating barriers.
The next move in this revolving door belongs to the Justice Department. They have 60 days to challenge the ruling, or it will stand. We'll monitor the situation for you.
Oil hasn't washed up on the beaches of South Padre Island since last fall, but the effects of the Ixtoc spill are still being felt. Merchants have undertaken an advertising campaign proclaiming the coast is clear. Last summer, that wasn't the case, as a runaway Mexican oil well created history's largest and most costly spill.
I would say it was a pretty glum and dismal time for the merchants, the hotel operators, everybody that lived here. We were affected. It seemed to have spread kind of a air of gloom over us, but as you can see now, there's no air of gloom on the island now.
Building permits soared rapidly this spring, and an 18-story complex is even in the works for South Padre Island. In nearby Brownsville, the nation's largest shrimp fleet is getting ready to sail, mindful of predictions that the oil may cause a change in feeding patterns.
Quite a few boats that changed over and went to start catching tuna closer to shore. They caught swordfish, which of course they never tried before. But that could be a pattern that has something to do with the oil, having tuna so close to our beach this year. It remains to be seen.
Tar balls washed up on the beach from time to time this spring. The prospect remains they will continue to wash up here occasionally, serving as tiny reminders of the environmental damage the Gulf Coast suffered just 1 year ago. Pete Mobilia for CBS News, South Padre Island, Texas.
What are you doing to the Jack-in-the-Box clown?
He's going bye-bye, lady.
But he's so cute.
Cute was the old Jack-in-the-Box restaurants.
This is the commercial that has some people so upset. They say the ending is too violent for children to see.
The food is better at the box.
The food is better at the box. Race them.
The food is better at the box. Jack-in-the-Box. Better at the box.
These three little girls, Rachel, Lauren, and Judith, have all been a little bit frightened by seeing their friend the clown blown up.
What does it make you think of when you see that cloud go kaboom?
Dynamite.
Does it scare you? Why?
Because a lot of people
What, Lauren? What'd you say, Lauren?
When they were like this one, I will be scared.
Why, Lauren?
Because I go there all the time, and I don't like to see it being blown up.
Henry Radoff, a local attorney, decided to complain to the Federal Communications Commission when his own 4-year-old son said he was afraid to go to Jack in the Box after seeing the commercial. The FCC told Radoff it was his responsibility to keep his son from seeing the commercials. Jack in the Box has always been considered a child's restaurant, and the company's goal is to change that image. But the company representatives say they never plan to achieve the goal by scaring children away. Jan Phipps in Houston for the update.
It wasn't a typical family outing on a beautiful sunny day. Instead, it was a get-together for nature lovers to celebrate the 16th annual Big Thicket Day. There was plenty to do for people of all ages, everything from visiting the Big Thicket Museum, which is filled with trophies of the wildlife and plant life surrounding the area, to learning how to make clay pots. Outside, there were art displays, a lot of good food, good old down-home country music, and of course, the beautiful surrounding scenery. Big Thicket Association President Gene Fagelson explains that the Big Thicket offers many things.
The Big Thicket has several different themes, as you can imagine. It has both biological and ecological themes, and has a social history aspect to it. Today is one of those days where we emphasize the social history, the culture, the artwork, the crafts, the people who built the Big Thicket, the oil fields, the timber industry. But of course, year-round we're emphasizing the ecology, the biology, and the botany.
Only in its second year with the Big Thicket celebration is the Big Thicket Walk Fest. The walk, which consists of both 6- and 12-mile courses, has become very popular, considering the fact that people come from as far as Frankfurt, West Germany. Although the Big Thicket celebration is over today, the Walk Fest will continue through tomorrow. Terry Elliott, Channel 6 News.
The hotly contested runoff race for sheriff in Hardin County is unofficially over, and the county is slowly returning to business as usual. In what turned out to be a very close race, the victor winning by about 45 votes, may turn out to be even closer than that. Mike Hosapple defeated incumbent Sheriff Billy Payne, and I spoke with both men this afternoon.
So I am going to ask for a recount after the Democratic Executive Board canvasses the votes Tuesday night. I am going to ask for an official recount.
I understand there's going to be a recount, or possibly, which is fine. We'll go through that, and we're going to settle in and start trying to line things up for when we do take office.
In the May primary, Payne had 1,500 votes more than Hosapple, but this time around it was a different story.
At this time, the future, of course, is unsettled. If the recount should not change any and there's no discrepancies found in any of the boxes, well then I will not challenge the election or anything like that. I will not challenge it, and I will accept the defeat, and we'll have a new sheriff in Hardin County.
First thing we want to do is get all the officers of this county on a good working relationship together again instead of on the outs. We do want to initiate a drug enforcement program in this county and slow the narcotics down if we can't stop them altogether, and do our patrols, start catching some burglars for a change, and do just everything we said we'd do in our advertising.
Hardin County was not the only one to have possibly lost its incumbent sheriff. The same thing happened in Chambers County, where Chuck Morse defeated incumbent Sheriff Doyle Pounds by a substantial margin, 500 votes. The votes in both counties will be canvassed in a few days. Jim Oliver in Hardin County, Channel 6 News.
Some hardened criminals on us, and they're causing some problems. What do you think we should do with these people?
Well, I think that we should send the criminal element back to him.
Well, he fairly obviously won't take them, Senator.
Well, he would have to take them. In our view, certainly we would deport them.
Leave them in the ocean?
Well, I think you just dump them on his shores. So you have to take them back. That's all there is to it.
Was this botched by the Carter administration? We've heard that there was a CIA warning in advance that Castro was going to pull this.
Well, I think it was botched by the administration because the first thing the administration did was to open its arms and say, come on in, we're delighted to have you, and then just hours or days later, they said, no more refugees. Anyone who brings them in will be prosecuted. So it was a complete change in direction. Obviously, Castro pulled a fast one and dumped all his refuse on us.
The Beaumont Fire Department was once again on the scene of an accident on Delaware Street, washing down the spilled fuel from an overturned car. Fortunately, a Beaumont area woman escaped serious injury. Her car flipped over after she struck the curb and several trees here on Delaware Street. Her car was on the losing end of today's battle with the streets. But it's not the first such accident at this location. Beaumont police report they've been kept busy with accidents here when drivers take the curve too quickly, strike the curb, the trees, and many wind up upside down like today's victim. A resident who lives along the accident-prone Delaware Street area told Channel 6 News that he's seen a number of accidents here and that many wind up flipping their automobiles. He's painted the curb white to help motorists notice it. The trees are thus learning new directions and growing. They may help by bending over sideways to protect the homes along Delaware Street, but they're also losing their skins. The curve here just off Interstate 10 is certainly one to reckon with. We hope when drivers see what could happen, they'll take the curves a little slower.
Well, in Port Arthur, the Cajun weekend ended this afternoon, and what an end it was. Wayne Sparrow, Channel 6 News.
Actually, Urban Cowboy is not very much different from Travolta's only other film success, Saturday Night Fever. In both films, Travolta plays the part of a rather simple young man who works hard during the day and plays even harder at night. In Fever, Travolta's milieu was a New York disco. There he enjoyed the popularity and prominence so obviously missing from his real life. In Cowboy, most of the setting is at Gilley's, a well-known Pasadena honky-tonk familiar to most of us in southeast Texas. Like the disco in Saturday Night Fever, Gilley's gives Travolta a place where he can live his dreams, a place where men are men and women like cheap furniture exist to be used and then discarded. Clearly, whatever success Urban Cowboy enjoys will be due to casting. Travolta's many fans will probably pay to see it frequently if today's reactions are any indication.
A-class. He was good.
Do you think you'd pay to see it again?
Probably so.
Did you think he did as good a job in Cowboy as he did in Saturday Night Fever?
I thought it was a little bit better.
Did you really? Why?
I did. I hate disco.
How do you compare Urban Cowboy to Saturday Night Fever?
A lot better.
Why is that?
It's Cowboy.
I saw Grease about 4 times, you know, and Saturday Night twice, so I wouldn't doubt if I'm come back again.
Albert Zipp, Channel 6 News.
After weeks of testing pollution that is found in rainfall in Beaumont, Lamar University has discovered very high levels of industrial pollution fallout in southeast Beaumont, where many of the refining and chemical industries are located. For example, for any living thing to thrive, the pH or acid concentrations in our rain and air should range between 6 and 8.5. Anything lower than those figures means too much acid. Testing at several points around Lamar show acid levels of 3.8 to 5.7. Rainfall was also tested for sulfate fallout, which is sulfur waste from refineries. Levels of sulfate should read about 5 parts per million. Around Lamar, they range from 9 to 89 parts per million. Organic materials, or fallout from the refining of petroleum, were also tested for in our rainfall. Levels should be around 5 parts per million, but once again they are much higher in southeast Beaumont. Tests show levels ranging from 16 to 98 parts per million. Lamar environmental scientist Dr. Ewan Eade says the testing shows that the pollution generally stays in residential areas around Beaumont's industrial complex, the southeast end of town, which includes the Lamar campus. The pollution levels found mean that in southeast Beaumont, any metals, such as those on your car and fences, and even the paint on your home will be destroyed very quickly. Certain vegetation will also be harmed, tender plants, particularly pine and fir trees. Most serious, of course, are the effects on people. Dr. Eade says people who jog or exercise strenuously will notice the effects first on their breathing. Eade says residents with any breathing disorders like emphysema, asthma, or allergies will show serious effects. Some students, for example, at Lamar who experienced asthma in their childhood may have the disease recalled just because they are attending schools so close to the pollution. For some students and residents, this industrial fallout could mean moving.
Relaxing and enjoying the summer, these kids say in the fall they'll be going to Oates Elementary School. Work began at the school today to correct what the Environmental Protection Agency calls an asbestos exposure health problem. West Orange Cove School District officials are replacing the school's ceiling because it releases low levels of airborne asbestos. The district is filing a lawsuit against the company that made the bad material. The ceiling will be replaced with an asbestos hazard corrective ceiling made of a material called K13. More than 33,000 square feet of ceiling are to be removed here at Oates Elementary School, and completion is expected by August 9th. From West Orange, Wayne Sparrow, Channel 6 News.
The strike by the Boilermakers Union at the Burton shipyards has lasted for more than 5 months. With the exception of negotiating sessions in May, no more have been planned. The arguments are standard: more wages, increased insurance benefits, and hospitalization. But the length of the strike without present negotiations seems to be too much for the wives of the strikers to bear. And today they made their wishes known.
Nobody's talking. The company don't want to talk. You know, we're trying to support our men, our families and everything, because we're hurting, you know, and they're not thinking nothing of it. Keep saying the meetings have been recessed and not stopped, but so far there's no meetings being held. So we're tired of them being recessed. You know, we want them to start up again and somebody start talking.
The women plan on remaining on the picket line until the strike is settled. From Port Arthur, Bruce Cates, Channel 6 News.
Judge Jack Brookshire has postponed the case to pending determination of Walter Mosley's status as a viable representative of the people of Port Arthur. Mosley filed a suit in July of 1979 asking that the court find taxation in Lakeview and Pear Ridge is unequal and not uniform to the rest of Port Arthur. In paragraph 11, the suit points out that the plaintiffs alleged that all other real estate subject to taxation in the city of Port Arthur was revalued except real estate located in the Port Arthur subdivisions of Pear Ridge and Lakeview. And paragraph 18 points out that each member of the Board of Equalization knew and had knowledge that properties in the Port Arthur subdivisions of Pear Ridge and Lakeview had not been revalued and thus were not subject to taxation based on their fair market value as other properties in the city of Port Arthur.
Today's court action means Mosley has to prove that he is representative of the citizens of Port Arthur
and that he personally was damaged by the different assessments. Mosley claims that while his property value increased by about 58%, Lakeview and Pear Ridge properties were allowed to remain at their levels from before their consolidation with Port Arthur.
The case has been in and out of court several times in the past year, and today's decision ensures that the case is a long way from over. David Lowell, Channel 6 News.
Senior citizens groups have come and gone before the commissioners with requests for money. All were usually denied funds. It was not because the programs were not worth the money, but because the sheer number of requests would bankrupt the county. But the Senior AIDS program was deemed different from the PAC this morning by county commissioners. By giving money, the county could receive a return.
This program really is putting money back into the community. It's not just a receiving on the part of senior citizens, even though they do receive. They receive not only dollars when they get their paycheck, they receive personal fulfillment because many of them are holding down paying jobs for the first time in their lives, and it supplements their income. But also they're on the giving end of it because their placement where they work is entirely with private nonprofit agencies, public service agencies, those agencies that are doing a service to people in the community.
The program is local and affects 3 counties, Orange, Hardin, and Jefferson. Money from each county will remain there, and other local revenue sources are also being tapped.
The Senior Aid Employment Program requested of the commissioners that they fund a local match share that is required on the grant. The grant subsidizes the employment of older people in the region on part-time employment, but it's a federal grant and it does require local match to bring the federal dollars down here.
Once the federal dollars begin to arrive, the county should see their return. Bruce Cates, Channel 6 News.
The small West Texas town of Kermit has gained a spot on the national map of unusual occurrences in its sinking hole. That's almost the size of 4 football fields by now. But it's not a new phenomenon to people living in Sour Lake. A similar unexplainable event caused some anxious moments 50 years ago in that city. It was October the 7th, 1929, when Owen Matthews was a foreman over the shoestring oil fields, where you could go from one derrick to another without touching the ground. That day, the oil wells started pumping out salt water instead of oil. Then, if that wasn't a profitable pill enough to swallow, the land started mysteriously sinking also.
And I noticed that ground, which had been the highest part of that area, was down a little bit low. You could tell it was in this crack, and I could see it crack. And he hadn't noticed it yet. And I told George when I got up there, I said, you better get that tractor and get up here. This darn country is sinking. So he got the tractor out of there and got away, and it went right straight down without everything. The trees that was in there was still standing up until it got down about, I'd judge, 80 or 85 feet.
Then y'all get scared?
No, people come in and stand right on the edge of it while there's caving and cave a little, just walk back a little bit and let it. I didn't think.
Matthews says the hole kept on sinking for 9 hours and then stopped just as suddenly as it began. It developed into an 80-foot deep, 1,000-foot wide body of water. Today, Texaco oil wells still turn out the black gold nearby. The sinkhole holds a swamp-like eerie stillness in its dead trees and waters skimmed with a coverlet of oil. No one can really explain why the hole stopped sinking, but residents in Sour Lake don't mind. If it hadn't stopped, there might not be a Sour Lake, only one big lake. From Sour Lake, Barbara Bedrick, Channel 6 News.
The huge pit was discovered Tuesday morning by oil field workers. They watched as the ground literally crumbled away. The hole is larger than a football field and is growing at the rate of a few yards every hour. It is filling up fast with water and a mixture of oil and gas from the broken pipelines that have snapped as the land caves in around them. Oil field crews have been scrambling to relocate other pipelines that are in its path. A state highway is just a few hundred yards away, and it is in danger of falling into the pit. It is well away from homes, but an oil storage tank farm is nearby. Geologists have several different theories about what is happening here. They say many sinkholes are caused by tremors which collapse underground caverns, which in turn cause the surface land to give way. Another geologist believes that an oil well drilled here 10 years ago, but which blew in violently, may have set the stage for the inevitable collapse of the land. Whatever the cause, people are being kept away, and no one is predicting how big the pit will finally be when the ground stops collapsing. Bob Buckaloo, Big 2 News.
Details next on Eyewitness News.
Field employees of a pipeline company first noticed it Tuesday morning. A hole 3 feet across in the parched ground just outside Kermit. The hole began swallowing earth so fast, within the day the pit had grown to more than 100 yards across. And great mounds are still crashing into the water-filled crevice, though at a slower rate now. Observers think they are feeling ground tremors in the area, so seismic equipment has been set up in hopes of learning just what is going on underneath the surface. Ominous cracks in the ground, some as far as 100 feet from the edge of the crater, indicate the potential for more instability. Oil storage tanks holding several 100,000 barrels sit just across the road. Workers are removing soil to relieve pressure that may be building up on pipelines right next to the crater. No one is exactly sure just what is causing the earth to collapse so dramatically. The best guess seems to be that percolating water has dissolved the supports of an underground salt dome. What geologists from the University of Texas are more sure of now is the size of the crater. Their measurements show a depth of 140 feet. That means a good-sized high school football stadium, stands and all, could fit inside with room to spare. Whatever it is, the growing pit that keeps devouring the earth around it is the talk of West Texas.
You've been out here a pretty long time.
True.
You ever seen anything like this before?
First time in my lifetime. 36 years in the field, never seen nothing like this.
Some of the experts are figuring the hole is probably not going to get any bigger, but they are not working too near the sides, an indication they are not really sure what is going to happen next. Joel Smith, Big 2 News, near Kermit, Texas.
The data is a limited amount of data for a fairly short period of time, and the conclusions that were made were in terms of long-term health effects on both humans and plant life, and that simply can't be based on a short study as was done.
Residents in the city of Orange have cut down on their water consumption. What does that mean in City Hall?
Our revenues that we've experienced this year have fallen considerably behind those that we had projected. One of the big reasons is that people have been using less water this year than we had projected.
Any reason why they're using less water?
My personal observation is that people are probably making an effort to conserve in all kinds of utilities because of the bite that they're taking out of their budget.
Now the city water and sewer budget is facing a $94,000 deficit. So,
10% increase.
That means about $1.20 a month average increase with a minimum increase of 55 cents. The tax hike will give the city of Orange $25,000. The rest could be covered by a reserve fund.
If that is passed this time on first reading and next time on second and becomes effective, it will be late July before the first bill actually reflects any increase, and it will be sometime in August before we begin collecting that increase.
City officials say it's not that they don't appreciate people conserving water, it's just that fixed expenses don't change. From Orange, Wayne Sparrow, Channel 6 News.
The school board has been meeting since shortly before 6 o'clock to discuss pending litigation against the board. Cox Enterprises, which owns the Port Arthur News, has filed suit to ask that expense reports be given to the paper for possible publication. These expense reports are now in the grand jury to determine if certain irregularities exist. 60th District Judge Bob Wortham has told Cox Enterprises attorneys to be more specific in their request for records, and a school district attorney says Cox didn't specify what records were sought nor which were not given to reporters. If necessary, Wortham has said he will call a hearing for 1 o'clock Wednesday afternoon. Tonight's hearing is apparently to decide what records can be given to reporters. We'll have more complete details tonight at 10 o'clock on the update. From Port Arthur, David Lowell, Channel 6 News.
This is the Lamar University Computer Center. Hundreds of students and professors use this room every day. Recently, the university installed this terminal. It is different from the rest and is only used by blind students. After programming into this terminal what you want, the information is fed back to you on a sheet of Braille. One student who uses the terminal is sophomore Lee D. Gilmer.
In taking my examinations, we've been able to put my exams and different type of class material onto the computer and run them out in Braille, and that's a tremendous help. But in the future, when I'm taking my other computer courses, that's where it's going to be the most help. I'm going to be able to compete like everybody else in classes with running my programs and being able to read what I've written and debug it, I'm sure.
Lamar is just one of 4 universities in the state that has this new terminal. It types out 15 Braille symbols a second and is tied directly into the main computer.
She can interact with the main computer just as though she was using it from any of the other computer terminals or she had full access to the computer. The terminal allows her to do a complete interaction for any files that are in the program, any files or programs available to the main computer system. Any information available to other students would be available to her in Braille.
The new terminal is a big asset to blind students here, and the university has future plans to put it into broader use. Jim Oliver from Lamar University, Channel 6 News.
Along the seawall in Galveston, the Flagship Hotel has been known by many for the past year and a half as the hotel to go to on the beach. But now a major competitor is returning. The Queen of the Gulf has been revived. Neglect and old age hit the 69-year-old Hotel Galvez in 1978. It was constructed back in 1911. The Spanish colonial-style landmark had begun to sag like an old face. Over the years, it had welcomed many celebrities, Frank Sinatra, Jimmy Stewart, and even President Roosevelt. The Queen of the Gulf housed refugees when the Great Hurricane of 1915 killed thousands in Galveston and held Coast Guard personnel during World War II. It's been closed for almost 2 years now, undergoing renovations after noted heart surgeon Dr. Denton Cooley and Archie Bennett Jr. purchased the hotel for $2 million, twice what it actually cost. It now operates as a Marriott Hotels franchise. Those men have put over $11 million into the renovation of the hotel. And today, at this exact time, people from all over the state are joining in the reopening of the Grand Hotel. The lobby now resembles the original one in 1911, with its long camelback sofas, leather chairs, and its chandeliers made in the 1900s. False walls and ceilings added during previous remodeling efforts have been removed to reveal dark oak beam ceilings and beautiful column capitals. From the second floor up, a completely new hotel sits on the site with 224 rooms for guests to relax in. In 1917, it cost a honeymooner $2.50 for a night at the Galvez, with a bath and a view of the Gulf. Today, the Galvez still has great views of the Gulf and the beach area. It just cost you $120 a night to see it. The dining menu is all new, based on the Marriott Hotel fare, and steak will devour $14 of your bill. Tonight, free gifts greet the guests in their rooms, and it's here that they can see the roll of the Gulf waters. The Galvez has hosted a wealth of history, and now it's being reborn again to start up with new memories. The dignified and elegant hotel is once again bringing in the honeymooners, the state officials, and guests from all over the country. The Paris of the Gulf is once again holding its place on the shores of Texas. From Galveston, Barbara Bedrick, Channel 6 News.
5th and 9th grade students were administered the test earlier this year to test their competency skills in mathematics and writing.
Addition, subtraction, two of the fundamental math operations,
70% or more of our students are able to do these. Moving then now to areas that we had 50% or more, we add some other areas. Solve word problems, sequence numbers, multiply whole numbers, and divide whole numbers. You'll notice that this column here is diminishing in numbers of the total tested, therefore the percent. That's where the percent is arrived at. It's the number tested divided by the total, the number that mastered divided by the total number tested.
The Texas Assessment Test of Basic Skills was ordered by the 1979 legislature as a means of determining the progress students are making toward basic skills. This is the first time such a statewide test has been conducted in Texas. BISD officials say most of the results of the math and writing tests are about the level of competency they expected. The district will use their test results to identify students who need special instruction. The South Park Independent School District will release their test results next week. In other board action, the trustees honored former board members Dr. Charles Pimpkin and James Potter for their work in the school district. Mario Gomez, Channel 6 News. In February of this year, 5th and 9th graders in Texas were administered the Texas Assessment Test of Basic Skills to determine the competency levels in mathematics and writing. Test results were presented last night to the trustees at the Beaumont Independent School District. We talked with Jack Kennedy, Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, who told us the district's 5th grade students scored high in mathematics.
In the mathematics objectives, our students do well in adding whole numbers, subtracting whole numbers, a little more difficulty in multiplying and dividing. One of the areas that was identified by this test that we'll be giving more emphasis to and working on, certainly not de-emphasizing the others, is the matter of working with equivalent fractions. This is true at 5th grade level. The objectives at the 9th grade, which is called exit level, the objectives were different there. The scores in math between the 9th grade and 5th grade, even though they're measuring different objectives, were not essentially different. So there was more difference in the handwriting. And part of this was attributed to the not readable or hard to read is the way it actually came out in the results at the 9th grade level.
What will these results mean to the school district and to the future education of these students? We will examine that aspect tonight on The Update. Mario Gomez, Channel 6.
Okay, thank you. Okay, sir, we'll try the call for you, but we are having equipment trouble in the area and we're hardly getting any calls through at this time. Hold on just one moment, please. Thank you. I will try.
In fact, 60,000 phones in the area covered by the 83 prefix were out for an hour this morning. That includes the police and fire departments downtown, which could have led to some serious problems. But police officers were on the scene to take the calls intended for the emergency services and radio the department for assistance. That kept the police dispatchers busy for the morning. And the circuits going into the operators at the phone company were constantly overloading. Jim Leiden of the phone company says the problem was isolated in the system's computers.
We had a computer malfunction which really wasn't discovered until the morning call load hit it. We find a heavy call load would begin at about 8:30. And when that volume hit the machine, that's when the computer malfunction was discovered. It took about an hour to rewrite a program into the computer to remove the bad portion and to put in a good portion, to put a permanent fix on the problem.
Okay, this kind of thing happened once before this year, did it not?
We had an outage in February. However, it didn't deal with the same type of a problem. At that time, there was a circuit pack in the computer that needed to be replaced.
During the morning, some calls had to be routed to the phone company offices from Houston through Nederland, which involved a lot more than the downtown Beaumont exchanges, but the problems were cleared up within an hour.
Phone company officials believe the new computer program should keep the phones ringing downtown. David Lowell, Channel 6 News.
This area along College Street in Beaumont will be the location for one of the 3 new apartment complex projects of the former Lieutenant Governor of Texas, Ben Barnes. Barnes' firm, the Bennett Construction Company out of Brownwood, Texas, has found Beaumont ripe for its building endeavors.
We want part of the action. I'm glad to have an opportunity to build 3 complexes in your county. But the reason you've been able to do that is because you have had the quality of local leadership. You've changed the image of that was projected of this area.
2 other complexes will go up under his firm's handiwork, one for senior citizens and one a multifamily unit complex. The former Lieutenant Governor and the youngest Speaker of the Texas House ever at age 21 waxed eloquent before the Beaumont Rotary Club this afternoon. Barnes pointed out that Texas was, is, and will continue to be the envy of the other 49 states because its environment complements the free enterprise system with no state tax and no corporate tax. But while Barnes finds Texas' growth potential bright, what worries him is where Beaumont, Jefferson County, and Texas will be in the 1990s if more people don't stand up and get involved in state and national government.
I don't think that our generation's called on to make greater sacrifices than those that have gone before. I just think we're a little lazier, we've had a little higher standard of living, we're enjoying this air conditioning, and we're wearing a better suit of clothes, and we've had a better meal than those that have gone before. And I think we've gotten soft. I think the problems and have solutions, but the solutions are the people of this country, and there's not a better place than Beaumont and a better place in Texas for us to show them how it should be done.
Barnes left today's Rotary Club and the entire area with these seeds to plant in our field of life. The dedication of the people of this country have saved it in hours of crisis, and now we are going to have to roll up our sleeves and go to work again. Barbara Bedrick, Channel 6 News.